work and environmental. So with that, in the last month, our main accomplishments include continuing to progress the project alternatives analysis. We had a trip to Washington, D.C., where we met with government officials and agencies, including the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, EPA, congressional leaders, and our 2 state senators. And so being able to advocate for the project in that trip, we did submit a $2 million request through Congressman LaMalfa's office to draw down a $50 million authorization within the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers 219 Environmental Infrastructure Program. We've heard positive news from the congressman, so excited about that, and continue to advance forward. So in addition, we met with Butte College to learn about their wastewater treatment infrastructure, and we've also held a sewer project ad hoc committee meeting to discuss the project status, key decisions including arranging for field tours and various treatment systems, which I'll talk about here in a moment, as well as meeting with the Central Valley Water Quality Control Board staff to discuss the anticipated requirements for treated wastewater effluent discharge at various locations, whether it be surface water discharge or land application on or near the ridge. So I mentioned the tours. Even though this happened, the monthly report is for activities in May. We did hold those tours, or at least the first couple of tours last week. We visited Lake California near Cottonwood and was able to meet with some really great staff at their site where they have a treatment facility which utilizes a secondary treatment of an oxidation ditch. And then they formerly had a discharge dispersal permit into the Sacramento River. You see it's literally on the property boundary, but now they have constructed wetlands for dispersal. And so I will showcase a couple of photos. This is at the Headworks facility with some of the drying beds for the solids and their processes. Here's a picture of us in front of the constructed wetlands. And then our second stop was at the city of Mount Shasta. Their treatment facility is kind of on the southwestern boundary of their city limits, somewhat near Lake Siskiyou and the Sacramento River. Their treatment facility here is shown on the map. They have a couple of dispersal options depending on the seasonality, and one of those is irrigation of their golf course, and then also they are permitted for discharge to the Sacramento River. Here's another a couple of photos from this tour stop, their Headworks intake location, and then this is their Aeromod activated aeration basins for the secondary treatment there at their property. Really expertise gleaned from the staff. We were so grateful to meet really amazing people that could share their experience, give us some pros and cons of their evolution of treatment methods. This is a new system that they constructed within the last couple of years. And then again, while we didn't go play 18 holes of golf, this is just really shows the great advantage of having a water customer nearby that needs the demand that a wastewater treatment process provides with beneficial reuse. And so just definitely a consideration for us. Day 2, we stopped in Placer County to work with the North Auburn Sewer Maintenance District 1. This was primarily focused on a collection system, being that they have different areas within their collection system that are serviced through a STEP collection, that's a septic tank effluent pump. They have a hybrid system overall that is ultimately regionalized. If you recall, back when we were considering regionalization, the Midwestern Placer Regional Project consolidated a lot of service areas and decommissioned wastewater treatment plants to transport all of their wastewater, including this area, to the City of Lincoln's wastewater treatment facility. But we found a couple of active STEP systems, including this one under construction. Really talked a lot about the different roles and responsibilities between the maintenance district and then the private property owners. Certainly not as straightforward as we initially thought going into it. And then here's one that was active with a pump on the higher side of that same roadway. So really fascinating information there. Our second stop of the second day was near Lake of the Pines, where we visited a membrane bioreactor facility constructed in 2006 that really decommissioned their kind of aerated lagoon system that they still have for emergency storage with dispersal into a local stream, which was interesting for us to hear about their stream discharge, which can actually be effluent dominated on different times of year. Here's a tour kind of before we started melting. It was very, very hot, or at least experience I had on the property, especially up here with a lot of the stainless steel components of the MBR system. But there's a lot of different activities happening in the MBR plant here. And then so with that, here's kind of a listing of the 1 month look ahead. We will be touring some similar wastewater collection systems and treatment facilities, including we have an appointment set up, or we're setting up an appointment for a 100% step collection, treatment, and discharge. Not very many communities in California have that. Literally probably less than 100 customers, I believe Robbins and one other private one, but we're working with them to get a meeting set up, and then also meeting with the city of Eureka to talk about their biotrickling filter system, as well as the city of St. Helena, who operates a brand new package MBR plant. All right, and then from here, we are holding focus workshops on collection system alternatives as a part of the ad hoc committee's process in the next month. That'll happen in a few weeks, and then we will be leading into a formal recommendation to the community and council. Our key focus items as we progress towards a selected alternative and a recommended alternative as a community will be continuing to find an option that is permittable, scalable, and maximizes the parcels served within secured and likely funding between the $65 and $80 million range for phase one. Big emphasis on phase one. We fully expect that no matter what we construct here with phase one, there will be expansion projects to follow within additional funding sources as they become available. So with that, we have scheduled our next community meeting as two community meetings, as two separate special town council meetings. Those will be on July 24th to review an ad hoc committee recommendation as well as alternatives we've considered, before a second special town council meeting on August 14th for a project recommendation, and really have that time to digest the community impacts, the community feedback from the first meeting, and comments received between the two. And we are looking at securing off-site locations for those two special meetings, just to be sure that we have enough capacity. We certainly don't want something as important as these two items, or these two meetings, to be constrained and restricting the public's ability to provide feedback based on the capacity of this room. So we anticipate, once those venues are secured, that we'll kick off a major public outreach campaign to advertise and promote both of those events in July and August. So with that, I'll just take a quick look. I know we talked about it last month. Within this kind of process between collection, treatment, and disposal lies a project that the town of Paradise will construct. So we're really excited and grateful for the participation of the community members and the council, and going on those tours, getting our hands dirty, as I said, but not too dirty. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions the council might have.
Questions for Mark? I guess we're good, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for your hard work on, that was a long week.
It really was, but well worth the time and effort, and we've got a great team that put all that together, and we just were so lucky to meet some great people that want to help Paradise.
And I've got to say, you know, that Tuesday was Heidi's birthday, and I can't think of a better way that we could have celebrated her birthday.
Yeah, discussing mixed liquor and all types of digestion.
The sludge cake.
Yes, muffin monsters.
Yeah.
Yep.
You will not ask what that is.
Yep. You don't want to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 2, consent calendar.
Can we get a resolution number for C and E?
2025-45 and 2025-46.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Lasan. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And item 3, we have none. Item 4, public communication. It's for matters that are not on the council business agenda. Speakers are allowed 3 minutes. Any cards, Melanie?
I have no cards.
Wow. Okay. No public hearing, so on to council considerations. 6A is adopt resolution number 2025-43.
47?
47, thank you. Chief?
Good evening, again. So good evening, Mayor, Council, Jason Finney again. So if you recall back in March, the Fire Safe Council and the RCD came and gave a presentation on broadcast burning and for your consideration to allow that within the town limits. Currently, under your current ordinances, it doesn't specifically spell that out or allow that. So over the last couple months, a lot of discussions have been had on how to propose that to you to be done in the safest fashion here in the town limits. So, and just for reference, throughout the unincorporated areas of Butte County as well as other areas throughout the state, broadcast burning is allowed under permit through the state. So this, as we go through this would be allowed underneath a special permit through the town of Paradise, if you so choose, with the updating of your ordinances through the resolution. So back to your current codes. Currently, there's 3 permit types here in the town of Paradise. You have the residential burn permit, which is a single small 6-foot pile allowed on a residential lot. For larger lots that are doing hazardous fuels reduction on 2/3 of an acre or greater, they can obtain that permit and they can have a larger pile. The special thing with that permit is that code enforcement has to go out and do an inspection on the lot to approve that permit.
So everything we're talking about right now is all for next year?
Affirmative, yeah, we wouldn't do anything this year.
Right, so
Correct.
this is all future stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Just want to get that out.
Yep, nothing would change at this point. And then the third permit that's allowed underneath the Town of Paradise ordinance is the land clearing permit. And that is basically a special use permit for larger lots that are going to be under development. So you could have multiple piles there and burn them all at the same time. So I don't believe, Tony, have you issued many of those permits throughout? So that third land clearing permit, that's where we're proposing to add the language for the broadcast burning permit.
Now, all 3 of those, are they required to comply with air quality, so they have to check for that before they light their piles, or?
Absolutely, yeah. Any burning anywhere in the county has to, air quality is the governing body for air quality issues, obviously, but they typically are the governing body. We will get involved during the fire season or high hazard days. We'll put a no burn ban in effect, but typically air quality is the governing body for all burning in the county. So what we're bringing to you is to add the verbiage that you see highlighted in red there, and as it reads, add broadcast burning to the land clearing permit. Permits, land clearing and broadcast burning permits may be issued for single parcels greater than 5 acres or for multiple contiguous parcels under common ownership or control that collectively exceed 5 acres. Permits are used for a specific time frame to coincide with the time when open outdoor burning is permitted. So only when we're not underneath the burn ban, we're in that permitted burn period. The broadcast burning permit regulates controlled burning operations and requires the permittee to complete a written burn plan as adopted by resolution and submit it to the fire department for approval. And I'll kind of go over that here later in the presentation. The permittee must adhere to all conditions outlined in both the approved permit and the burn plan throughout the duration of the operation. So again, obviously, the thing with broadcast burns or what we call prescribed fire as opposed to just pile burning is you have to follow a lot of guidelines, a lot of prescription in there, mainly pertaining to the weather. We go out and inspect as well as code enforcement. So it's a much more governed operation than you would just a pile burn. Pile burning, if it's a burn day, they burn, and it meets the size requirements. Prescribed fire or broadcast burning goes through multiple checks. And I think if you reference the burn plan, that was in the packet that really spelled out the whole process that we're looking for. So additional requirements, first things first, we've set up the burn exclusion zone, if you will, in the town. And that's to really keep broadcast burning out of the core of town, so it's not impacting the commercial downtown business district and or the more highly densely populated areas, right? Smoke impacts is probably your number one complaint we would get air quality is going to field those complaints as well as us. So we want to be cognizant of that, so we created that area. So first things first, make sure that that parcel or those parcels that are working together are outside that zone. Make sure it meets the minimum lot requirement of 5 acres or greater. We're also asking that a burn plan is developed and it's written by a California standardized prescribed, or excuse me, a state certified prescribed fire burn boss, which is the CARX. So that's a certification through the state fire marshal's office that a prescribed fire practitioner has to go through. So they take a class, I believe it's a 40-hour class, then they have to go through a series of training. They have a task book attached, and as that gets signed off, then they get certified. So we're requiring that a certified CARX burn boss writes the burn plan, is involved with the burn, so therefore it's more governed, right? We're trying to take, just the landowner can't go out and apply fire to their land as they could in the unincorporated areas. We don't require that in the other areas outside of the town of Paradise. So really it
Then
added.
why would you do it in the town? If it's not required in the county,
Because
why would it be required in the
I want to make this as safe as possible. And I think by adding that layer in there, it really, and obviously,
But doesn't this require me to go hire somebody else?
potentially, that's where I'll bring in the Prescribed Burn Association that was here that day. They're funded by grants. So we're working on an MOU with them currently to try to allow the RCD and the PBA to work within the town limits. Currently, they cannot. And that would, offer up a low cost to no cost option for
Right,
residents.
That's something I was getting to. I mean, everything is getting more expensive work.
It
Which
is.
why people
Yeah,
break the laws.
and I talked to a contractor in the area about, hey, what would it cost for just for a private citizen to hire you to come out? And for, I said, he's just throwing a dart on the board, he's not looking at the property, he doesn't know the complexity of the actual burn itself. But for 5 acres, he gave it anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000, right? That's, it's expensive. Well, labor's expensive, they carry their own insurance, so all those things factor into that cost.
But that's no cheap, that's no more than it would cost to do the way we have it designed right now, to clean 50 foot around it, to clean through it, you're gonna be really close to that same number, so.
Yeah, and this is an option. This isn't saying people have
Right,
to do it. It's
right.
just, it's a viable option. It's a tool in the toolbox for residents to use to help mitigate that fire hazard.
Because if I got 5 acres and it's got brush on it and grass, clearing 50-foot perimeter of that is not gonna be $10,000.
Well, yes, it is, because you can't just do that. You gotta cut through it also. You have to break that up also. We have that in the guidelines, so there's cost to, trust me. I know.
It's not like you're just gonna take a brush field and
No.
light it, right? I mean, there's gonna be prep work that has to be done first that we would go out and inspect, and that's why when you bring in that CARX burn boss, they know what needs to be done, right? They have that trained eye, they've done it before. We've worked closely with the PBA over the last several years. I had the Cohasset Battalion 2, which was Cohasset Forest Ranch, B Meadows, worked with them for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. They did good work. So I trust in the work I saw with that organization. That's why we're trying to work to bring them in here to the town to provide that low-cost option to the residents. So really trying to mitigate any type of issues. There's always that what if, but
But in the town, there's people that are still triggered by smoke.
absolutely.
And we just gotta be extremely careful how we do this and
Absolutely.
how we notify people.
And I think that's, Tony and I worked a lot of discussions, and I think these conditions we've put in there, and you'll see in that burn plan as well, there's requirements for notifications of surrounding neighbors as well as us, air quality, we'll call our ECC, they'll definitely see from the cameras from Sawmill Peak. So, yeah, totally understand it. We could, social media messaging is also an option as well. So, yeah, we're really trying to cover all the bases. I totally understand. It's people see smoke across the ridge. You're going to see it on Doe Mill this fall.
Sure.
We're going to be burning over there with the Fire Safe Council, but it's better to do it under those controlled conditions, or we know what the alternative is. So yeah, there's always risk involved in anything we do. So really just trying to mitigate all of those potential issues that we could run into. So. Additionally, they'll have to, any broadcast burning that's done in the county, they have to obtain a secondary permit from AQMD. It's about $30 and then $1 per acre on top of that. So a 5 acre parcel would be about $35 And we would require that to be in place prior to issuing a permit. Then we have a town permit that we've developed, you'll see here in a second. And then we also encourage, one of the caveats with the CAL FIRE prescribed claims fund is a CARX burn boss has to write that burn plan. And it has to be approved by CAL FIRE. So that's why we wrote that in there to where if a CARX burn boss writes the plan, it's approved by CAL FIRE, they can then apply to the CAL FIRE claims fund, which provides them with about a $2 million supplemental insurance policy over that burn. I've spoke with Chief Len Nielsen down in Sacramento, who oversees that program. That fund is in place until the end of 2027, and then it'll go back, for review with the governor and the finance department. Hopefully it gets funded again. There hasn't been a claim against the fund so far since its inception, which is good, but it's there to provide that extra level of security to those projects. So, and then the PBA and the RCD, they use that fund often. All the projects they do that they have, they submit to that fund, and they're covered underneath that. So there's a picture of just the exclusion zone we talked about back in March. So basically the borders of Pearson and Skyway to the north, Pence Road to the east, Pearson Road to the south, and Skyway to the west. So outside of that sphere, if you will, is where we are recommending we would allow broadcast burns to happen. So the pink shaded lots are currently 5 acres or greater. If we're allowing, let's say a property owner owns 3 3-acre lots and he wants to combine those and do a project there, underneath the ordinance we're proposing to you, that would be allowed. And again, hopefully we can help increase the pace and scale of that fuels reduction in the town by doing it that way. The PBAs, a big burn for the PBA is about 10 acres. They typically, they're in that 1 to 3, 5-acre sweet spot, and they do a good job with it. So there's the prescribed burning permit from the air quality. All the conditions are within the permit. The fee structure is in there as well. And there's the permit we've developed for the town here. You'll see that we've added, if there's multiple property owners in there, the burn hours are on there. There's some verbiage about the inspection that needs to take place. The certified CARX burn boss will need to be confirmed prior to issuance, and then as well as the documents that will require to be in place, which is the CARX burn boss, the permit from air quality, smoke management plan. So if you're doing more than 10 acres of burning at any elevation in the county, you have to provide a smoke management plan, and that gets pushed in through air quality, and they look at really the weather conditions and the smoke impacts of communities, hospitals, schools. Typically below 10 acres, it's kind of negligible, not to say there's not going to be any smoke impacts, but when we get above the 10 acres or a burn below 1,000 feet in elevation, you have to have a smoke management plan. So obviously Paradise, the town limits were above that 1,000 feet, so we don't meet that threshold. But if there was a project that was 10 acres or more, they would have to also submit the smoke management plan. And that's typically done with the CARX burn boss. They know how to write those plans. They work with air quality pretty much daily this time of year. And then we'd also confirm the project lies outside the exclusion zone. And then obviously the applicant's signature, and then one of my staff, whoever's approving the permit. Oops. And then briefly, just kind of going through the burn plan, the contents of the plan. Obviously, there's the generic project info, location of the burn, unit description. So that's looking at the fuel type, right? Is it slat, or is it a masticated material? Is it an underburn with duff? Is it just grass? So it looks at the fuels in the unit and then the surrounding areas and properties outside the unit. What's the goals and objectives of the project? Is it hazardous fuels reduction? Are they trying to get rid of noxious weeds, whatever it might be, habitat restoration? And then the pre-burn considerations is probably one of the biggest one, is the unit preparation. So that's when we go out and say, yeah, those control lines are adequate, or no, I want a wider control line there, or no, you might have to go in and hand cut and pile burn, and then go back and broadcast burn. So you might have to do a heavy lift of reducing the fuels, and then go back and broadcast burn at a later date. So those are all conversations we would have with that CARX burn boss, as well as the property owner, to develop a solid plan moving forward. We confirm water supply. I talked to the PBA the other day. They have a couple of slip-in units to go in pickup trucks, as well as a UTV, about 150, 200 gallons. They also have a water buffalo, which is basically, you see them all over town. They're the 300 or 400 gallon little tow behind water tanks with a pump and a hose on it. So those are on site, those are mobile. Any values at risk, so structures, water lines, sensitive species, or cultural sites would be identified in the burn plan.
agriculture sites, we're not talking,
Native American sites, yeah. I mean, someone might
we have to have
some-
them inspected?
It does, if they were known. We don't go through a CEQA process with
Okay,
this, so
okay,
we
thank
don't
you.
bring out archaeologists
Perfect.
to really look
That's what I
through it.
wanted.
So, and then the other big one is the prescription and weather. So that's really the formula that brings this plan together. That's what the Burn Boss does, the CarX Burn Boss, is they look at that fuel model, they look at the topography, they look at the tons per acre, and they develop, hey, well, here's a hot prescription and an ideal prescription and a cold. And so as long as that burn is going to happen within those parameters, it's able to move forward. So that really sets, how hot or how cold that burn will take place. We talked about the smoke management plan already, the ignition and fire plan, so that's how they're going to apply fire to the project. So, you don't just walk at the bottom of the toe of the slope and strip fire and run head fire through it. Now, if you're burning star thistle down the flatlands, that's what you want. You want it to burn hot. Typically, we like creeping, backing, flanking fire, so we have better fire effects in those areas. We're trying to save trees in these areas and not kill them, so we like more moderated fire in those areas. Firing plan is part of that. The holding plan, so what resources are going to be there to hold the fire within those control lines. Anticipated fire behavior, so they'll run their modeling with that. What resources and equipment they have on site and any recommendations we have. Any post-burn activities, so the mop up and patrol, right? After the fires, they're done tipping the torches. What is the standard that they're going to mop that fire up? Typically, we say 3 days with no smokes. PBA's been great about, working with the landowners, and they go out for 3 days and you're just putting out little hot spots. They'll typically secure the line 50, 60 to 100 feet after the fire's done, really mop it up good, that 100-foot buffer off your control line. And then, there's always smokes that come up days afterwards. So that would be a discussion that would be in the burn plan as well. The notifications, like you talked about, Councilmember Boland, is, going out, knocking on doors, advising the neighbors that are in the immediate area. Typically when we burn out in the unincorporated areas, you have bigger lots and less neighbors. Here, we could definitely have more neighbors that would need to be notified. I know we discussed some kind of door hanger. If that's the wishes of the council, I'm sure we could develop something like that. Social media messaging and just door knocking and talking to your neighbors is really the most effective.
I think that'd be smart, just for the fact too, unfortunately, you're burning a lot of poison oak. And if people don't know that's happening, there's some that are very, very
True.
sensitive to that. And if they knew that was coming, they might just take the day and go do something else.
Sure.
So I think those things are just something we need to think about.
Yeah, and poison oak could get burned in your burn piles too. That's,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, there's obviously all those little
You're right.
pitfalls we can keep running into.
You're right.
But I think the more, again, this is a tool in the toolbox. It doesn't say we're
It just
burning.
covers us for any notification and gets people aware of what's going on.
Absolutely. So there's the pre-burn notification, obviously, letting people know the project is happening, and then the day of burn notifications. Wildfire conversion plan, so what's the plan if that thing gets out of control? So just hope it doesn't, but we have a plan in place, or they have a plan in place on who's responsible for what, who's activating 911, and then how they will react to that issue. Obviously, there's a contingency plan that's in place with the burn plan, medical plan in case somebody gets hurt, communication plan, if they're using any kind of two-way radios, handy talkies, they'll cover that in their briefing checklist, then any safety plan. Lastly, the project area maps, so they'll develop maps that'll have topographic features in there, as well as where their control lines are, their water sources, any values at risk. We'll obtain a spot weather forecast, typically the day, 2 days before the burn, which gives them a really, you can pinpoint that to a geographic area, and they'll get a good weather reading. Do you have a question?
Yeah, as much as they have to do you see this as a property owner doing this on their 5 acres, or you see a company that does mastication is now also going to do broadcast burn? Which way do you think this is going to go?
I see it's either going to be private or through the PBA. This is what the PBA does currently in the unincorporated areas around Paradise. So they go through a burn plan, and some burn plans are, they kind of scale them back if it doesn't warrant all of but it's at least it's addressed. So they currently use this burn plan that was in the agenda packet. So
It's pretty intense, is what I'm getting at, so.
it's very thorough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I think it's important to make sure that all boxes are checked, and
I like it a lot.
And then a go, no go, no-go checklist. So typically, they'll have a go, no-go checklist before they apply fire. They'll do a test fire, so they'll cut out a small block. They'll apply fire in that area, see how it's burning. Is it reacting the way they think? If it's too hot, it's burning too hot for them, they'll call it off. Or if it's not burning hot enough, because then you create a mess, right? You run fire and it burns cold. Now you have a really big mop-up problem. So it's looking at both the hot and cold sides on your test fire there. So that's really the cliff notes, if you will, of the burn plan. It is a lot, but I think that's the standardized burn plan we use not only for CAL FIRE when we do a VMP burn, but as well as the PBAs do as well. So before you, the action requested is to adopt the resolution, which is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise adopting the broadcast burn permit and introduce town ordinance number
2547.
2547,
No,
an
no.
ordinance amending Title 15, adding Chapter 15.09.100, broadcast burning requirements, or provide alternate direction to staff. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'll have a question afterwards. I want us to vote on this, and I have a question for him and Tony.
Any questions for the chief?
It was very thorough. I don't have any questions.
Any cards?
I have no cards on this item.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Lasson. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So, if I
Yeah.
could- go ahead.
And I gotta say, Chief, you took Councilmember Lasan and I out on a prescribed burn in Thermalito, and very, very impressed at how it was done, why it was done, and that definitely would make me support this. I saw the importance of it and the care that was taken when it was done, and I was really impressed.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. I have to
So-
second that. I learned a whole lot more even tonight on what you were doing on that prescribed burn.
Yeah.
I know you talked about it, but it didn't really register as much as seeing it, now seeing this plan, saying, okay, this is why you have to do all that, because it is a significant operation that you just don't go out there and light part of the field on. You actually do a lot of science before you get out there.
Correct, yeah. To do it safely, yeah, it's important.
So I have a question. So what I'm observing out there at this point is, and I think this could be something that does happen. I was at a project, a job on the lower part of town, I won't say where, coming up. I thought there was a fire in the middle of town. There was a plume, it looked like a plume of smoke. As I got up the road, it was a tractor going 100 miles an hour, spinning around in this lot, trying to clear it really quick and throwing dust. I mean, to the point, it looked like a fire. It honestly did. I was gonna call 911. That's how much it looked like it, to make sure you guys knew it was there. And then I thought, all right, that's one off, you know. Well, then I'm going on another road and I see the exact same thing, so bad, so much dust that you couldn't even see the cars coming on the road towards you. I mean, it was that much being thrown. I'm concerned that people are going out and just gonna take these tractors and just, which causes sparks. I mean, you hit a rock on something like that, you're gonna cause a spark and things are gonna get kind of crazy. Anyway, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know whether to call someone and tell them, but that is just, to me, that's reckless. And it's as much polluting the air with dust and all the garbage just going up as anything else. So I guess more of it's just letting you guys know that I'm seeing this happen. And I was surprised that,
And I believe dust is covered underneath air quality guidelines as well, so that is something that they could address.
I've called Air Quality Control Board and reported things like that, like on some of the construction projects, you know, that are just
Yeah.
going on. I mean, that's one resource. They're not always responsive immediately.
no, they're not gonna be, it's gonna be over with. I mean, these guys were going 100 miles an
No,
hour.
no.
They're spinning and they're flying, they're
Yeah.
gone.
And dust abatement's a big deal, right? I mean, you see it all over town, they got the water trucks, you know.
Well, it's not fair to the neighbors.
Sure.
And it's not fair to the neighborhood, it's not fair to the fact if something were to spark, I mean, things are at the point right now, it just takes a little spark, you know, I don't
And they
think.
don't have, a lot of times, I mean, I don't know, maybe we can do something, but they don't have water, Buffalo or water on
They have
on the
nothing
job
there.
site.
No.
You know, I mean, they're out there
Well,
trying
if
to
they're
clear.
mowing, they're required to have suppression tools
Well,
and water supply on site.
But if somebody's got an acre lot and they're out there doing, like, say, they got their little letter from the town, so they're trying to clear it, and they go out
Sure,
there, they rented a tractor at Guy Rents, and they're zipping around, they probably don't even know the regulations they have to water. If they start a fire, do they get billed? Do they get fined?
They could.
Okay, because, I mean,
It depends on what the response is and how large the fire is, and, yeah.
If it burns the neighbor's lot, that means
Affirmative,
even
yeah.
if, I mean, even
Yeah.
it's
If it burns the property of others, you have problems.
you
Yeah,
have big problems,
Yeah.
legal problems.
yes. So, yeah, duly noted, yeah, and I think that would be, a discussion that if those issues are happening, we could forward it to air quality.
Well,
For the
I'll
dust.
call you guys when I see it again, because I think more and more, these people are, I don't want to pay no fine, and they're just going out there with,
Yeah.
and just going for it, and it's ugly. But anyway, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. So don't run off.
No, I'm not going. Now I know how hard for this, holy smokes.
Item 6B, consider adopting resolution number 2025-48, a resolution of Town Council of Town of Paradise approving the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection Cooperative Fire Protection Agreement.
It's a lot to do. Yes. Well, thank you, Mayor, Council. Yeah, I'd like to just start off by saying, as we're closing out the end of our third four-year contract with the town, we appreciate, CAL FIRE really appreciates that cooperative agreement. I think we've been through a lot over the last 12 years. I mean, from the Camp Fire to COVID to the North Complex. But we really appreciate the relationship that we have with the town, all the town has done for the firefighters here locally. We have great equipment. The station infrastructure that you put money into, the guys have it good and the gals. So we appreciate that and appreciate the support. So with that said, I will try to muscle through this. Some of this bleeds over, and I apologize. We talked a lot of fire, so there's some bleed over in here, so I'll try to jump right through that. But basically, with CAL FIRE, the mission statement of CAL FIRE or the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection is we serve and safeguard the people and protect the property and resources of California. So statewide, we have over 800 state and local funded fire stations with over almost 1,100 fire engines, a total of 53 aircraft, which is 12 helicopters, 24 air tankers, 17 air tactical planes, 14 air bases, and 10 heli-tac bases. And those are strategically located throughout the state to try to have aerial assets over a fire within 20 minutes. So they didn't just pick a cheap lot. There was actually some strategy that went into that. Statewide on the CAL FIRE side, we own and operate 58 bulldozers, have over 12,000 permanent and seasonal firefighters, and we provide the direct fire protection for 110 cities, towns, special districts, and counties throughout California. We also staff and manage 6 all-hazard incident management teams. We're no stranger to our IMTs. They come in, they stand up those large incidents. They're able to handle all the logistical support as well as operations for these large damaging fires. So just within Butte County, the cooperative, kind of an overview of the Cooperative Fire Protection Agreement. Just here in Butte County alone, we're about 430 CAL FIRE career and CAL FIRE career and support staff with about 150, 151 volunteer firefighters countywide. We operate 23 fire stations, 11 of those are state funded, 12 are local government, with 2 being in Paradise, 1 in Orville, and then 9 are county owned. We operate, I spoke of it earlier, 16 Type 3 fire engines, 13 Type 1 engines. We have 2 ladder trucks, 1 in Gridley and 1 in Orville. We cross-staff 1 Type 2 rescue down at Station 44 at the bottom of the hill. And we also have the 2 dozers that are staffed, 1 at Nord and 1 at Orville headquarters. At the Chico Air Attack Base, I already kind of talked about it. You saw the air attack. The one thing that was not in there is the drones. So we do have 4 drones within the county with operators. Those are dispatched to not only, so they'll go out to the fires, but there's obviously coordination with our drones and our aircraft. But we also use them on rescues, especially in the evening, once all the aircraft off the fire, they'll fly the drones, look for hot spots on the perimeters so they can GPS waypoint. It's kind of an Easter egg hunt. Guys hate it. They get the map and then they got to go find the hot spots all day. But work that has to be done. So 4 drones. One of our drones is able to, actually, we use it for prescribed fire. It has the ping pong balls, the PSD balls. So they're, I don't remember the solution that's in there, but they're injected with glycol, exothermic reaction. They drop it, hits the ground, catches on fire, and that's how we start some of our, yeah. I used it on the park
I
fire.
need one of those. No.
Yeah, it's
That's cool.
pretty amazing. You can
That
cover a
is.
lot of ground. We also, they run them out of our helicopters, but it's a lot safer to run it out of an uncrewed aircraft instead of, flying helicopters low and slow is that, what we call the dead man's curve. So we like to use the drones in that, so.
Cool.
Yeah, great asset for us. We already spoke about it, the 2 hand crews, or the 2 fire centers that are throughout the county. So during the summer month, we have a minimum of 3 crews on duty with a maximum of 5. So with the cooperative agreement, the town pays for 2 dispatch clerks out of the Orville ECC. And we have a 24-hour duty captain, so we have a uniformed personnel in there that is a firefighter that goes in there that oversees the operations, as well as a battalion chief. So they're able, they speak fire, they understand fire. We run into some, like say the city of Chico, their dispatchers are police dispatchers and they do fire, but ours are dedicated fire only. So they also, through the ECC, they provide EMD dispatching services. That's emergency medical direction. So as they take that call, they can provide those BLS life-saving, CPR, the Heimlich maneuver, those types of things. So they're certified and qualified to give that over the phone. And they're always, through our CAD systems, they're sending the closest resource to any emergency. They're also, through that EMD, they're able to interrogate the caller and we usually launch the first engine in the medics code 3, but as they talk to them, there's a series of calls. If they determine it doesn't warrant a code 3 response, they'll scale it back to a code 2, safer response for us, for the public, and gets to the call. The ECC also coordinates the medical helicopters in the north region, so everything comes through Orville. We have an RDS2, which is a research data specialist, and they're the propeller heads. They sit in the back dark closet and they crunch numbers. So anytime we have a fire, they start running fire simulations, and it'll give you a 3-hour projection of where that fire will move, how many structures are in the way, what the population density is. So that gets formulated rather quick and out to incident command, so they have an idea of, we kind of know where it's going, but it's just especially at night, it's very helpful because we can see where that fire is projected to go. We used it on the campfire, and actually the projections that the RDS was able to produce to where the fire line was almost identical, which wasn't great, but it was good to have that knowledge. So we total of 6 pods there in the ECC. So when they get busy in the summer, all pods are staffed. They're coordinating aircraft throughout the region as well as in the unit. We're remodeling the ECCs now, going to 10 pods. And they also monitor, you kind of lost the TV screens, but they have about 20 TV screens that are tied into all the cameras throughout the county. So they're constantly looking at all the cameras. The cameras are also monitored by AI as well as our region intel out of Reading. So, AI is constantly looking. If it sees an anomaly, it'll pop, it'll stop and look at it, zoom in, and a lot of the times it'll alert the ECC before the 911 calls are kind of becoming a thing of the past. We're detecting them before the 911 call comes in. So. Additional benefits with the contract. I don't know if some of you, I believe, have been down to our Openshaw training grounds. About 1.5 years, 2 years ago, we put in a tower. That's a 4-story tower that we use for drills. It's a great tower to have. Paradise used to have one behind Station 81. It was a Type 5 wood framed. Weather and time beat it finally. But this one, every Friday, we bring down engines, multi-company drills, and they use this tower. So great addition to the unit. It's got forcible entry, prop ventilation, USAR and confined space, AutoX, and hazmat throughout our grounds. I think we have about 8 acres in there that we utilize, that we lease from the sheriff's posse. So it's a great site. It's in the middle of nowhere, but we're slowly trying to upgrade that as funds become available. Some of the teams that you have available to you with the contract, we have a countywide hazmat team that's is made up of CAL FIRE and the City of Chico personnel. We have a Type 1 water rescue team. They worked really hard to get that certification. They've been deployed. They were down to Tulare, I think it was 2 years ago. Obviously, we had the flood events in the valley this winter as well. So they're a great resource to have. Obviously, we don't get a lot of flooding up here in Paradise, but nonetheless, they are available to us. Our technical rescue team, which I'm a part of, been a team leader for the last 10 years, been on the team since 2007. We have a great group of folks. We used to come up here a lot more when the West Branch, the flumes and kids would jump off, and we were down in the canyons a lot. Lookout Point, We'll get, our mountainous roads, we get a lot of vehicles over the edge, up the 32 corridor, Highway 70 corridor, in the South County as well. So we got about 20 members on the team. We train minimum of once a month, try to do twice a month. We're currently a Type 2 team. We're striving for that Type 1 status, but it's hard. It takes a lot of time and a lot of equipment that is expensive. So the Fire Prevention Bureau, which Melanie's husband is so greatly part of, but they're available to us. The town doesn't pay for the prevention officers directly, but we utilize them on all of our fires, structure fires, vegetation fires, and as we spoke earlier, they're great. And they've got their finger on the pulse in the county, so they know what's going on, and they pick up on those indicators real quick, or those patterns. So even a structure fire, they're good to help come in and do that cause and origin investigation to try to determine exactly where that fire started. So. We have a dedicated safety bureau. It's a battalion chief and a fire captain. They do all of our OSHA safety compliance, all of our PPE inspections, all of our fire marshal inspections. They actually inspected all buildings this year, so that was quite a lift. And then we have a training bureau that has a battalion chief and 3 captains that is readily available to all the Paradise firefighters as well. I'm a certified Office of State Fire Marshal instructor for rope rescue technician and rope rescue awareness ops. So I teach all the firefighters around here. We usually do about 24 a year in each class, get them up to current standards. It's also part of our new employees JAC training requirements. So we're able to provide that to them at no cost. If you were to pay for that class, out of pocket, it's about $1,300 just to go to the class, plus your hotels and food and all that good stuff. So the town of Paradise owns and operates 2 fire stations, as you know. It has two Type 1 engines, 2017 and 2018 era. Engine 81 is the 17, engine 82, which is set to be replaced in the fall of 25. That will be bumped down to the reserve, and then we'll surplus off the current reserve. That's a 2001 model. We have the 2 Type 3s. We also have a new Type 3 on order, should be here in the fall of 26. And the same thing, we'll take that 2002 model, which has served the town well, and we'll excess that. There's also 1 battalion chief command vehicle, 2 utility pickups, and the company 81. So currently, this year's cooperative agreement, we have 1 battalion chief that's funded, a total of 6 captains. If you recall, the end of last fiscal year, or excuse me, the middle of this fiscal year in October, the council approved the addition of the partial funding of the 6th fire captain. So we're requesting a full funding of that captain on this next contract. We have 6 fire apparatus engineers on staff, currently 4 firefighter 2s, 2 comm operators in the ECC as we discussed, and then the town also pays for about 4 to 6 months of a single firefighter 1 up at Station 35 up at the north end of town, and that's through that Amador agreement that the state and the town have. So. And then again, Amador, so is everybody familiar with Amador? It's basically an agreement between the state. The state provides the engine, the station, they pay for most of the fuel, you pay for the firefighter 1 for those months. So it's a very cost-effective way to really have that north part of the town covered underneath that agreement. So the county, I believe, we have 5 stations underneath that Amador agreement as well. Forest Ranch, Jarbo Gap, and a few others. So. Then this year we're looking at about at $800,000 in savings, and I'll go over that here in a second of why. Some of the other benefits with the cooperative agreement: you have a robust fire protection emergency response model, provides seamless dispatching of resources utilizing the closest resource concept regardless of jurisdiction. There's always auto aid and mutual aid agreements out there, but basically we have a full boundary drop. So. If Paradise has a fire, all the engines get committed, we move engines in from Oroville, Salchico, Sterling City, Jarbo Gap, wherever it is, and we fill that void. So you have the full depth of the CAL FIRE resources here in the Butte unit. Full weight and depth of CAL FIRE resources available for wildland fire suppression. So you have chief officers, engines, dozers, crews, aircraft, water tenders, prevention, and PIO. CAL FIRE and Butte County Fire Department are currently transitioning to all of our fire engines to traditional staffing model, which is what the town currently runs. So you have an engineer who's your driver operator, you have a captain who's basically the supervisor of that engine company in the right seat, and then a firefighter in the rear. So up until Measure H passed in the county, Magalia, Salchico, Thermalito, Gridley Biggs, they had 2, typically an engineer and/or a captain, and then a firefighter. Well, now we're going to that 3-person staffing with that traditional staffing model as well. So it's a much safer model. There's a lot of critical tasks that happen on the fire ground when we pull up, so that's able to help complete that. So with that staffing increase in Magalia and South Chico, that benefit is also available to the town. So the economies of scale leverages the benefits of regionalized fire protection model. So currently the town pays for the 1 battalion chief. So, he works 2 to 3 days a week, typically 3 days a week. So the state or the county picks up that other 4 days, fills that void. So just another benefit of that. Move up and cover. So if there's, like I said, if there's a large fire in the town, we surge engines in to cover the stations here on the ridge. Minimum, we'll keep 3 engines on the ridge at any given time. So typically 2 in the town and 1 in Magalia. So we'll move things around to keep things covered. We also have a standard response plan for dispatching resources to all emergencies. So take a structure fire, you get a battalion chief, 4 engine companies. Oops, excuse me. Battalion chief, 4 engine companies, 2 water tenders, 2 crews, prevention officer, safety officer. Same thing for different levels. We have a high, medium, low dispatch level for our vegetation fires. So we have all that standardized so the folks know where they're going. You have an enhanced response to large scale or simultaneous emergencies. So there'll be times when you've got 2 engines that are tied up on a traffic collision or maybe a fire. We're able to surge those resources in here to pick up those calls for the town. We coordinate and plan and implement evacuation planning in the town as well as the unincorporated areas of the county. We talked about the assistance from the prevention office. They do a great job. And then CAL FIRE helps coordinate and plan fuels reduction projects throughout the town and the surrounding areas. Probably what I miss the most, being on the engine and going to these community events, right? This is what being a firefighter is getting out in the communities, giving back, talking to the folks. We love having the. COVID was tricky, right? Because every kids or something, you get. I don't know to do this, but it's still great. It's a good time to connect with the community, with the school groups, teach them some fire safety. So yeah, we really appreciate being part of that. So just a synopsis of last year's 2024 call volume. In the town limits itself, we ran a total of 1,898 calls, and that was about a 10% increase from 2023. I think it was 189 calls, something like, or 190 calls. So first due calls are in blue. So that's Station 81 had 719 calls within their first due area within the town limits. That engine ran a total of 984 times. That means if there was a traffic collision over in Station 82's area, 81 also responded, that's counted. So you can see the engines, even though there was only that many 1898 calls, the engines are rolling even more to go into fires, traffic collisions, or calls right outside the town limits. So you might have a traffic accident right outside the town, 81 and 82 to roll into that, or 35, just depends on where we're at. Some of the value-added benefits with the contract, again, the bench depth, if you want to call it that, with CAL FIRE. So we have, especially in the winter months, as CAL FIRE tends to go back to that base model, sometimes we have extra folks, so we utilize those folks to plug holes for behind training, sick leave, injuries, unfunded positions. So that's where you see some of those realized cost savings. This 4-year cycle, we're projected to see about $2 million in savings over the life of that. It was amended, I think, a total of 3 times. And I'll talk about the last one. And then ABH, or Assistance by Hire. So when Paradise Fire Equipment is response to state wildland emergencies, the state reimburses the town for that rental of that equipment. So there's a standardized rate they use. I ran it back to 2019, and we're right about $1 million that the town has received back from, Engine 81 and Engine 82, and then the 2 Type 3s going out. So just 82 went out on the deployment down to Southern California in January, about $100,000 coming back to the town off that. Not only Engine 82, but then we upstaffed 281 to cover 82 behind. So that engine is also being reimbursed. So it's a good way to help, replenish the general fund to help purchase equipment down the road or facility improvements. So, and just this year I had numbers, 2024 we were at 219,000, and then 25 with the LA fires about 95 or 100. The numbers aren't completely back yet. Those are FMAG fires. It takes a while for everything to get hashed out. So here's just the contract amount and the actuals from the current contract we're in. You can see there was some savings each year. This year, a more significant savings. The state bought down the PERS rate for all employees, so that was a direct cost savings to the town. As of the third quarter, we were sitting right about 800,000. I expect that to be higher than that, but until we're done with our actuals at the end of July, or excuse me, the end of June, we'll have a better idea. So right around $2 million in savings on the last 4-year contract. And then before you this evening is for consideration as a renewal of the contract. We'll go from fiscal year 25-26 to fiscal year 28-29. This year, we're asking to fully fund that approved fire captain. That'll give you a total of 6, adding the 5th firefighter 2, which will give you a total of 5. And then next fiscal year, adding the 6th firefighter 2, which will put us at that 66-hour staffing model that I believe Chief Purvis and Chief Needles discussed. Any questions on the 66-hour?
I never understand it anyway, so.
I could explain it to you. It's confusing. We're just working towards a standard work week with all other municipal departments is what it. So total over the 4 years, the last 2 years, I put in a cost escalator. The labor group's contract is set to expire July 1 of next year. So there'll be a negotiation. So I don't know what's going to come out of that. Budget, the state is in a budget deficit, so I mean, I'm not going to sit here and guess, but we'll see. But I put in the 2% just to be a conservative, right? Costs do go up, medical costs. So just factoring that in to have as close to an idea as possible. We'll see what comes out of bargaining. I'd have to come back before you for consideration on that. So the total over the 4 year is $23,623,372. So before you this evening for consideration is to adopt resolution number 2025-48,
48.
a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise approving the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection CAL FIRE Cooperative Fire Agreement from July 1st through July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029 for a maximum amount not to exceed $23,623,372 or provide alternate direction. And I'd happy to answer any questions.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So part of the contract is we're paying for a couple of dispatchers that,
Yes, sir.
by the way, anybody that hasn't been to that command center in Orville, I really advise you to go. I got to tour that a couple of years ago. It's pretty impressive what goes on.
Be
there.
happy to take.
But, so if I'm at home and I have a heart attack and I call, my wife calls 911, where does that call go?
It'll typically go to Paradise PD first.
Okay,
and then they
that was my question.
They transfer it down to us.
Because that was one of our concerns in the past. So then they would notify,
Yes.
your dispatch would roll an engine or.
Yep.
Okay,
They get-
cool, I just wanted to make sure that, because now we have a fully staffed
Yeah.
dispatch, and I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that, it's going there.
Yep.
Cool,
Oh,
okay.
it gets transferred immediately down to the Orville ECC. Same thing with the city of Chico. If it's a
I could
county-
just call the fire station, couldn't I?
You could.
It's right up the
yes, sir.
street.
We recommend calling 911.
Call me, I'll come over.
Call you?
I'll come over.
But
And
your truck will be burned up, how are you going to come over?
If anybody would like to go down, I'd be more than happy to show
I'm
you
just kidding.
our command center too, so.
Well, if there's no other questions, I'll move approval.
Well, is there any cards?
I have no cards on this item.
Then I'll move approval.
I'll second that.
Motion by Colleton, seconded by Lang. Councilmember Bullen?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
I would have did that so if I
Aye.
had a heart attack.
Motion passes.
Duly noted. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
So 6C, consider confirming the itemized report of abatement costs and 2, direct staff to record the confirmed assessments against each parcel as appropriate. Tony?
Well, good evening, Mayor Crowder, esteemed council. So tonight is our third leg of the, it's sounding weird, of our implementation plan that we brought back. There? Is that good? Okay. So, However, before I get into it, I want to, you know, say what a great community we have, and how responsive, you know, the community has been, because now our percentage is over 10% higher than we were at this time last year, right? I mean, I have a fantastic staff, but really the benefit is the community, you know, it's kind of embracing it. So tonight, as I said, it's the final leg of our implementation plan. Council may confirm the report, and once approved as codified in the municipal code, if a property owner does not pay the expense of abating the nuisance within 5 days, and they've already exceeded the allotted time that we, per the municipal code, allowed for them to, you know, seek payment, the town council confirms the cost of abatement, and the cost will become a lien and a special assessment against the real property that the nuisance was abated on. But as Councilman Colleton stated earlier, out of the 396 properties that were originally brought for abatement, 259 were self-abated before the contractor crews were assigned, you know, to the properties, right? So we only ended up having to physically abate 133 properties. So the abatement, the original budget for the project was $441,000 and change, and the hard cost, which is the actual cost of the hiring the contractor to work on the sites, came out to $269,579. So resulting in a project coming under budget at $172,181. Finance did a great job of, you know, producing these invoices for all the abatements, and invoiced $617,400 in total. So that's abatement. That's the actual physical abatement, and then the soft costs are the administrative fees, and that's what takes all the time to abate these non-compliant parcels, right? So, you know.
That include any fines that they were assessed, correct? The
The
soft cost.
The soft cost does not, so that's the citations that they were assessed is separate from the actual abatement costs for it. The citations end up as liens on the property. The abatement costs and the administrative fees will be under the special assessment. That's how the county and Amy worked with finance. Finance worked with the county, and you know that's how we can lien and recover the costs in the tax assessments. So, and I marked this as 16 because it's a little different than the staff report came in at 15. We had one more that paid. So, and we'll adjust the assessment list accordingly as well to identify the ones that did come in and pay. So we had one within this past week. So, council action requested is to confirm the itemized report, abatement, and costs, and direct staff to record and confirm the assessments against each parcel as appropriate, or provide alternate direction.
I have a question.
Sure.
So just to clarify, so the hard costs of abatement were $269,000 roughly, and the finance invoice $617,000 roughly?
Correct.
So that tells me that the soft costs of that were quite a bit. They were more than the hard costs.
Correct.
Okay.
So that was the.
The administrative piece was more than the actual abatement.
Oftentimes, it takes a lot of staff time to get
Okay.
to that abatement.
Because it's multiple
Multiple visits,
notices and visits, okay.
you know, for, you know, admin, code enforcement officers, fire prevention staff, finance staff is all wrapped into that administrative fee.
So that just compounds quite a bit throughout the process?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does the clock start when they leave the brick and drive out to a property? Is that how you count the time and all that for your code enforcement? How do you figure out those kinds of software?
Yeah, so it's, you know, we do, you know, it's like a time study that was done previously when we first initiated this back in August of '24. We provided that information. So yeah, you're right. So it's the time that it takes to actually go and inspect come back, write the notices, somebody has to mail out the notices, and do it multiple times, because these properties, it wasn't just one citation, and we went out and, ran, many had more than 3 or 4 or 5 citations against them. We appreciate if you're responsive to our little letters, as Woody would call them, but sometimes you're not, and it just takes a lot of staff time is involved with, getting to this point of having to abate a property.
So if a property owner wanted an itemized list of everything that went into that soft cost and the hard cost, you'd be able to provide that to the property owner?
Yes.
Have you had any requests of that nature?
We have.
I got a question. So, before we created this ordinance, so we had properties with people that abandoned their lot, they didn't live here anymore. It's full of weeds. We sent them a letter. We sent them another letter. We sent them another letter. We sent them a citation. We sent them a second or third citation. So, before we went and abated a property, in that scenario, what happened? So then the citations then go on the tax rolls as a lien? But it does not include any administrative costs. It's just a citation, right?
Correct. The lien, potentially the town can lien on the citations.
Where I'm going with this is like, okay, so we have, we give citations to people that are non-compliant, that are violating our rules. If they don't respond, then there's a lien goes on their property. But it does not include all of these soft costs. It's just the fine, correct?
Correct. Your soft costs were
But then
involved with.
why when we went to that next step, it's a little puzzling. I'm not against it.
Sure.
It's just a little puzzling.
So the soft costs were involved with, before this new process happened, that we had the attorney's fees. So the attorney then would go out, and it was a much longer, drawn-out process and more expensive
If we wanted
to the town. Yes, to get to that.
And just
abate.
like in this billing that we've done for these abated properties, it does not include the fines, right? In other words, we've already, like all of those visits to that lot that was non-compliant.
Sure.
They happened, and that's just, you guys got paid to go do that, and it wasn't added on to the fine. It just, you know what I mean? But then once we said, okay, we're gonna abate it, I mean, granted, the old system, we would have had to go through a whole process, spend a lot of money to do that. So we made this new ordinance that allowed a quicker, cheaper way. But now suddenly, so is the soft costs include all of the visits that created all of the fines?
Correct. All the
So that was
times
already
that
done and
you're
never
in
would have
there.
been recovered, right? The fine just goes on the tax roll.
The fine does not go on the tax roll. The special assessment does.
Goes into the lien.
Yeah, the lien,
Fine I mean,
that's what I meant,
citations
goes on.
are handled
Yeah,
separately.
The people that didn't pay the
from
fines
doing
in the
that.
old system.
The lien is trying to get them to get compliance.
Right.
We're just trying to notify them, comply, get your lot clean, get it done. They choose not to. Then all these costs come in. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
I'm not opposed to it, I'm just, in other words, we had and then, so where does if the abatement, if these properties had multiple fines, why are they not included in the billing for the abatement?
Because the abatements are handled separately than the citations.
But
They
the
complied,
staff time
they
used to-
complied.
The staff time to use to create the fine was all part of this final abatement process. That's how these people got on the list, because they ignored the fines, they ignored the letters. So we don't bill them for all of that staff time to writing the tickets, or, but then once we abate your property, now suddenly all of that staff time that was used prior is taxed onto the bill, or is collectible,
Correct.
but the fine isn't.
The fine is a lien.
So there's a,
If you
there's
get
a distinction.
$100 fine, it's a ticket.
So there's a distinction. We are allowed, pursuant to the government code, we are allowed, or the revenue and tax code, I can't remember which one, but I think it's the government code. The town is allowed to place reimbursement costs on the property tax rolls.
Okay.
The code does not allow for fines to go on the tax rolls. So the work that leads up to the citation is reimbursable. The cost of the citation itself is not reimbursable pursuant to the property tax code. You can still leave it out there and try and collect it, but the bigger hammer is putting all of the hard costs, the actual costs of the town on the property tax rolls.
Which is the hard cost.
Yes,
Okay.
because a fine is a penalty because you didn't do something.
Right, right.
That's why it's not, the policy reason is that's why that's not eligible for a lien on the property is because it's a penalty. The actual work that needs to go in to get to that point is a hard cost that is allowed to go on the property tax roll.
All right. Just looking for
Thank you.
understanding.
All right, so I see no cards.
I have no cards on this
I'll
item.
move approval.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bowen, seconded by Lang. Councilmember Bowen?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So, item 6D, designate 2 town council members to serve in the exceptions committee in accordance with the town ordinance number 624. Tony?
Well, thank you again, Mayor Crowder, esteemed council. So, in February, council meeting, the town adopted ordinance 624, amending the town's defensible space and the hazardous field management regulations. That's when we went from 30 feet to a 50-foot perimeter. Which also was included was an exceptions committee, made up of 2 council people. And we did not select 2 council peoples to serve on the exceptions committee. So, the council action today is to designate 2 council members.
I'd like
Yes,
to
sir.
nominate Steve Crowder and Woody Colton because they were very involved in getting that changes out and all that. And they seem like they are very concerned about the fire hazards here. So I think they would be good candidates to be on that committee.
Second. Oh, I thought that was a motion. I'm sorry.
And the train left the station. You guys, I'll do it. You know me, I give everybody a break.
But Steve wouldn't, so you guys will balance out.
That's right, with the balance, you know.
Was that a motion? I'm sorry.
So, let me ask, so what, right now, on our citations, we have an appeals process, correct?
Correct.
So, wouldn't that appeals process almost serve the same purpose?
Who's on that committee?
Well, so they appeal, and then there's a hearing officer that comes in, and that's not part of the, council. They come in, they hear the appeal. Oftentimes, in the previous hearings, they allow more time for compliance, right? And not unlike, my staff, they, work with people, and get them in. Some community members just don't want to do anything on their properties. And we did receive one person that inquired about the exceptions committee and wants to go ahead and move toward council. That's
With the hearing officer, isn't there a cost to the town for that?
There
Or
is.
to the homeowner or somebody?
I believe if they, how's that work, Scott? If they lose the person pays for the hearing officer, but you can,
Yes, so the town fronts the fee for the hearing officer. If the ruling is against the person you know, who's the subject of the hearing, they have to reimburse the town for the costs of the hearing officer. And if not, if they are successful, then the town eats the cost of the hearing officer.
And so, okay.
Does this replace that, or is this an adjunct to that, or how does that work? Is it-
In addition to,
Oh, in addition to?
So you still need both? So if.
somebody
if
may appeal their
If
citations.
somebody appealed it, we would hear it first.
You appeal, the exceptions committee is separate from the appeal process
Yeah.
for the citations.
So if they had, if they wanted to have an exception considered, the committee would hear that, and then if they weren't happy with that decision, they would ask for an appeal, no?
No, that doesn't
It's a
work like that.
one-shot.
No, so
deal.
what happens, someone can apply for an exception, and if it's one that's reasonable, staff can approve it ministerially. If the staff says no, then they can apply to the exceptions committee, which is their appeal,
Right,
right?
okay.
The exceptions committee can approve it if they find good reason to. But if not, the hearing officer is related to citations and fines and challenging
Okay,
citations and
okay,
fines.
okay.
Okay, so
They-
that's a different.
They're different,
Different
things.
things.
They're different issues,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So the exception committee would not be for giving fines or
No.
any of that. It would simply be considerations of something like the time limit or.
Extraordinary circumstances.
Yep.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
My second stands, if that's still.
I'll third it, no.
And I haven't heard the magic, if selected, I will not run, and if elected,
I
I
haven't
will
either. I
not
haven't heard a
serve.
word about
I didn't hear it at all.
Well, I kind of thought the first one that opened their mouth was,
No.
you know,
It's the first one nominated, it's what I was trained on by the expert here.
Yeah, first round their mouth, that's a good.
Now, as the de facto parliamentarian, I do need to tell you that you of course have adopted Rosenberg's Rules of Order, which do allow for 3 separate motions to be on the table at any one time, should someone want to. I'm not suggesting that's a good idea. I'm
Thanks
just
for making it
suggesting
more
it's-
And we were gonna get out of here early tonight.
I was hoping. Well, you want to do it, Steve?
yeah, I'll do it.
You won't have many of these.
Yeah. Well, there's probably only one person in the whole community that's going to complain.
Yeah.
He's not here tonight.
So that would be a motion by Lassonde, seconded by Bowen for Council Member Colleton and Mayor Crowder to serve on the Exceptions Committee. Councilmember Bowen,
Wholehearted aye.
Councilmember Colleton,
I should have said aye. I'll vote yes.
Councilmember Lang,
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde,
Aye.
and Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank
Yep.
Okay, 6E, appoint 2 council members to serve in the working group for the Downtown Plan Phase 3. Colette.
Good evening, Mayor Crowder and Council. I have the pleasure of presenting yet another committee for Council to appoint to tonight. As you recall, we are moving into Phase 3 of our downtown strategy plan with UDA. And as part of that, one of the objectives is to form a working group, which will help inform the process as we come up with a strategic working action plan for the downtown, to revitalize that area and take some action there to realize our vision ultimately. So tonight we ask that council appoints 2 members to that committee to listen to the community and to then throughout that process come back and report the information that's happening within that committee to the full council for direction through that process. And so unless there's any questions, I hand it back to you for motion and vote. for
I
those
motion that
appointments.
Heidi Lang and myself be appointed to that committee.
I second that.
Motion by Lassonde, seconded by Lang. Councilmember Bowen,
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Lang,
You can vote for yourself.
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde,
Aye.
and Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, 6F, consider approving the amendment to employment agreement between the Town of Paradise and James Goodwin. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This matter was, I was directed to place this on the agenda, and just as by way of background, the town recently approved some changes to the management group MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, predominantly related to dental insurance, health insurance, and vision insurance. The town manager's contract incorporates the benefits, the same level of benefits as the management group MOU. The issue that is caused by that is I was very specific in drafting that contract, and it tied it to that MOU and didn't use the words "as may be updated from time to time." So by changing that MOU, you don't automatically change the contract and the benefits that the town manager receives. The problem with that is, if you take the management group MOU and or the management group, and you change them to a different medical policy under CalPERS, it leaves the town manager by himself. CalPERS will not allow a bargaining unit of one. So it's not possible to leave him by himself there. So in looking at it, the easiest solution is to say that to change the terms of the contract to allow the management group MOU to be applied to the town manager. And if you make future changes to it in 3 years or so, whenever the next round of negotiations come up, those would automatically be incorporated so that you don't have the problem of a bargaining unit of one. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
I have no cards on this item.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Crowder, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Council initiate items. 7A1, discuss initiating a town-hosted State of the Town. Woody?
That's me. Okay, so we used to, when I served on the council from 2004 to 2016, we did an annual State of the Town of Paradise official, and I believe that we owe it to our citizens to have a meeting once a year. I'm not proposing it to be this month or this summer, but that going forward, that we have that. Recently, the Chamber of Commerce has hosted for the last 2 years a kind of an informational thing, and which has been great. The first year they advertised it as a State of the Town, hosted by them. There was a fee for it. There was cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. And I just don't, there was not a lot of people attended, probably 50 to 80 maybe. And we don't, historically, when we have a State of the Town that's free to the public, that the town sponsors, it's our responsibility to give them an update. It's always free, and there's not that many people that show up often. But the fact that we don't provide that, I just think we're the town of Paradise, and we're the ones that serve the citizens. The fact that we have a presentation that we give to the Rotary Club, to the Eagles, to the Chamber of Commerce, to the Board of Realtors, that's all a good thing. And I think being involved in those community outreach events is a good idea. I believe that we have a responsibility as a municipality to, once a year, invite the citizenry to come and hear the State of the Town, separate from any other organizations. We can make presentations to them. We can share our presentation with all of these other entities, but it's what we used to do historically, and I just think that we owe the citizens that. It's like where they can come here or wherever we decide to hold it. If we hold it in the summertime, we can do it in the park, I don't know. But it's got to be free. It's got to be free. If it's ours. If it's not ours, like this current one the Chamber did, I thought it was well advertised as Progress or whatever. They didn't call it the State of the Town. We were invited to be one of the many participants. I think that's a great thing. I think what they're doing is good, not oppose that. We have an obligation to once a year tell our citizens, this is where it's at, this is what we're doing. And I'm not suggesting when it should be, that's something we can decide later. Staff can come up with some ideas, when would be the best time for us to schedule something like that, whether it's in January 1, a new year starts, whether it's in July when our fiscal year starts. Most of us live in a calendar year, not a fiscal year. So that my recommendation would be maybe sometime between October and February. But we'll see. I just think it's important that we reestablish that state of the town as being a town function. So that's my 2 cents.
Now, do you see this with having the different directors talking about their areas, or just you having the mayor talk? What do you see?
What it used to be was, it used to be the town manager presented it. Now, we had a councilman, Tim Titus got on the council. He did not believe that the town manager should be the face of the town. He believed the mayor should be. So we changed some policies. And so, but it was always that, it was always done. Now, whether or not you want to include all those other people, I mean, it's open-ended. It's just the idea is that the responsibility is, the municipality is having a free gathering of the community to say, here's where it is. It could be the mayor, it could be directors. I mean, you know, we do that every meeting. We have reports, we have updates.
Sure we do. Mm-hmm.
But to once a year, just be accountable to our citizens. I just think that we should own that. That's what I think. However it's configured.
Okay, okay, makes sense.
So if you all concur, we'll maybe have staff do that. If you don't, then we won't. That's how I'm telling you tonight.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think the town owns the responsibility of telling our residents what's the state of the town. I wholeheartedly support the idea that the chamber does their thing, and that's great. I encourage it. But we can, I would love us to keep participating in it, but I do think we owe it to say, okay, this is where we're at and this is where we're going, to let them know what the goals are for the next year and what we've accomplished in the prior year. I think that's a good thing for the town to take ownership over, but that's just me.
I'm not opposed to the idea. I mean, I think that it is kind of curious that the chamber was kind of taking that position, and it would further serve to communicate things firsthand to the residents. So I'm not opposed to it.
The only thing I'd say is I think we need to do it earlier, and I know we're, calendar year, fiscal year, but so if we wait though until February, we've lost the majority of, our year, what we're reporting on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about, when it should be, I don't know. Should it be, that's something we have staff talk it over. If there's concurrence, do we want to do it,
Yeah.
go forward with it?
I'm not opposed either.
Let them come back with a
Recommendation.
The recommendation of when it would be best to do it. It's just the idea that once a year, we invite the citizens free of charge to come and interact with us, we invite them every month to come and interact free of charge. And we appreciate y'all being here.
It sounds like there's clear direction to have us do that, so we'll certainly put together a plan and bring that back
Take
to
a
you.
look at it.
Thanks, I appreciate you guys.
Okay, council reports on committee representation. Woody?
What did I do? I went somewhere to did something. When you get older, you forget, and I don't write things down because I haven't learned how to use this thing yet. I did get to participate in the Sober Grad Night. Thank you to Councilwoman Lang for the invitation. I had an absolute blast. The fire chief was there, our police department was there, fire engines were there, and there was, 80 kids or something? 109 PHS graduates, and there was like two-thirds of them or something were there. It was a fabulous time. The mayor was there, and he said that his shift was from 10 o'clock till he could last, and he thought he'd be gone at 10:30. My shift was 10 to 1, and it ended at 3. And all three of us didn't leave until 3:15, as well as the fire chief. But it was a really good time. The only thing that I have to report is that's the only thing I really did that I can remember that really was a lot of fun. But the other thing that happened, though, that night was our first responders came in and told us about how a gentleman had a heart attack at the graduation. And what I found out that night was there were no ambulances on this ridge at 10 o'clock on that Thursday night was. So I followed up on that, and I called the ambulance corps. I called the head of, what do you call it, Enloe, told me a year or so ago, before they took over the ambulance corps, that once they did, he would make sure we have an ambulance here. We have an ambulance in Paradise from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., which I understand has been extended to 10 p.m. Then they're gone. Then there's one station 24/7 in Magalia. And that particular night, everybody was down the hill. And so by the time after CPR was applied by both PD and the Cal Fire, by the time an ambulance got here, it was 22 to 26 minutes from the time they were asked to be here. We need to let the citizens know something's got to change. We don't have any emergency service on this hill if somebody has a problem. And I'm getting older and I'm worried about that, you know. That's why I approved the fire chief's contract. So that's it. That's all I did. Thanks.
Ron?
Okay, yeah, I was on vacation part of the time last month. That's why I missed the meeting. But I did attend the State of the Arts at the Art Council. They talked about where they're going. It was very informative, but not very well attended. But nevertheless, I learned a few things where they're heading. They're going to rename themselves. They won't be Patch or Pash. I get it confused between the animals and the arts. So that'll be good. Also, on the 23rd, I went to the Skyway liquor store's ribbon cutting. And that's only the second time in my life I've been in a liquor store. I've been to grocery stores that have liquor, but I've never been in just a dedicated liquor store. Second time in my life.
We want to go to the smoke shop.
I've never been in a smoke shop, I admit. So I was impressed with the quality and quantity of what they have in there. There's more than just booze in there. There's all kinds of different types of drinks. There's ice cream. There's, you name it. They even sell lotto tickets. I knew they did that, but but anyways, I really enjoyed it. The people that are running the store are really neat people, and I wish them well.
Been back 6 times?
No, it's only still at 2. On the 7th, I went to the garden show, which was just this past weekend. Went there at 10 o'clock in the morning. Let me tell you, that's a better time to go than like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because walking outside gets a bit warm around here. And I did go on a controlled burn with our fire chief. Again, I really appreciated that. If we have another one, I'd love to be invited again. I think it's very informative for us to understand what goes into something before they do a controlled burn. It's not just go out and light the grass on fire. There's a whole lot that goes in, a lot more than I ever imagined. A lot, like I said, a lot of science, but a lot of pre-positioning of assets, informing people what's going on. It really impressed me, the whole operation. And that's it for my past month.
It was a very, very busy month, so I'll just kind of consolidate this. I did attend the Chamber's Paradise Perspectives event, which was informative. I was impressed to see all of the different stakeholders represented there and the thorough presentations. Let's see, we had, I put on the Homesteading Fair up here, which I don't know how many of you attended, but that was a kind of a cool first annual event. The Memorial Day flags were this last month, which was it was a really cool event, and I really appreciated all of the support of all of the volunteers, especially on the takedown. And then I was able to attend the Upper Ridge Community Council meeting and the Grazing Festival, which was very entertaining. All the goat yoga, that was adorable. And then the swearing in of our newest dispatcher, Lauren, I believe was her name. So that was pretty exciting. I believe that brings us to full staff. So that is an accomplishment that we should be very proud of. And then, of course, the sewer tours, which were as as much of an adventure as they were, it was totally worth it. They were very valuable tours. We learned a lot. You know, when you sit through the presentations, virtually, that it tends to be like all of the good stuff, all of the, you know, all of the nice things, all the edited things. When you go out to these facilities, you're seeing them in real life, and you know, you watch the facial expressions on the staff's faces, you get their body language, like, you know, and you just get a full experience. So I was really grateful to be able to go on those, and I appreciate the town's efforts in coordinating those. And then, of course, the infamous Safe and Sober Grad Night, which I also appreciated everybody's help, especially everyone in this room. It literally would not have gone as smoothly if I didn't have all of your help, so I really appreciate that. And that's it.
Won't go through the same things been said. But one thing, LAFCO, Steve Lucas has retired. I don't know if you guys know Steve Lucas or not, but he's retired, and Shannon Costa has taken over his position, and she's more than qualified. She's great, but we will miss Steve. He'll come back for some, you know, special projects and stuff like that. But anyway, he's been a big asset to our county, so he'll be missed. But yeah, anyway, that's all I need to report.
Well, I won't go into a lot of detail. I also went to the chamber event where the state of the town was presented, and the school, PID, all the stakeholders, and it was very, very well done. I did a 2-hour Zoom with Altadena, including some of their citizens, and that was quite interesting. They're facing the same challenges that we did, only their adventure's just beginning, so I think they appreciated it. Again, sewer meetings have been gone over. The town did a BizPro event, which was to get people involved that would help new businesses that come in navigate the building department and what's needed and what have you. And it was a good turnout. I think it's a good event, and I think it'll help. The prescribed burn we talked about, sewer meetings. Also attended the grazing festival. New dispatch swearing in. We had a Finance Committee meeting yesterday. Grad Night was a great event, and I don't think anybody realizes how much work Heidi puts into that, and she's been doing it for 12 years, and boy, without her, it probably wouldn't exist. Went to the homestead, walked through there. That was very well done. Also did the set up on the flags on Memorial Day, and that's my report. Any future agenda items? Okay, hearing none. Staff communication, town manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things to mention. One is we culminated a very busy spring, as you all know, with the adoption of our MOUs for all 5 of our bargaining groups. Big accomplishment to get that done this spring, and so we are now done with that for the next 3 years. I did have the opportunity to represent the town on the panel for the perspectives that was hosted by the chamber, so did that. Participated in a quarterly administrators meeting down at the Butte County Administrative Center with our Butte County CAO and then all of my peer city managers in the region. We do that quarterly, and so we did that this past month. And then again, as the mayor just mentioned, we did hold our first ever BizPro Academy. It went very well as the first event, and we're looking forward to potentially repeating that in the fall. And so we'll be getting more information out, and hopefully more volunteers from the community will want to help their peers in the business community, and we're trying to give them the tools to do that. Thanks.
Okay, so with that, we have no closed session, so meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.